What is up, dudes? Khrizantema, and welcome back. Dudes, today we'll talk about the part 3 of tanks I would like to see in the game in the near future. And today I have a very special tank. And some of you may know, but I'm an artillery player, SPG player. I like to play with SPGs, even in Armory Warfare, but also in World of Tanks. Well, when I was playing non-stop World of Tanks. But since the artillery got nerfed there, and it is what it is. I got into this game, Armory Warfare, in 2015, and since then I was grinding to play with artillery. And as you know, in the last battle path we got an artillery, the tier 9 SPG premium. But today we have an artillery from the South African National Defense Forces, a 6-wheeled self-propelled howitzer vehicle, the G6 Rhino. Now I can see this tank as a battle path reward or as a progressive tank in the tech tree, because we have a big gap between some tanks in the progressive tech tree, and we can have it in the contracts as a special tank around tier 7 to 9, but mostly at tier 7. Yeah, so it looks very similar to the tier 10 SPG that we have in the game, but this is a bit of like the old school SPG, very mobile, fast, and so on. So, designed to replace the South Africa's World War II era Sexton artillery vehicle, the G6 was considered one of the most advanced self-propelled howitzers in the world when official production commenced in 1988. And remains an effective piece of hardware to this day. Initially development of the 6x6 dates back to the late 1970s. The first working G6 prototype was available for testing in 1981. Though the vehicle has seen a limited amount of combat since its introduction, it has proven to be an important asset in the operations which have included it. So, as many players say, why we need artilleryman in the game? Well, artillery in real life does a lot of things, not just by hitting tanks, but it opens paths for troopers, squads, and even tanks in the field. And a shot can be very lethal for the enemy and also, in the game. Developed by the Littletown Engineering Works, the G6 measures roughly 30 feet in length, 11 feet in width, and 10 feet in height. At roughly 51 tons, the initial design for the 6x6 called for a 6-man crew consisting of a driver, commander, layer, bridge operator, ammunition handler, and a loader. So it has a big crew to be stuck in that small vehicle. But it looks small, but it's quite big as a vehicle, The original G6 was designed for a 6-man crew, but subsequent variants like the G6-52 that we are talking about today could be effective manned by as few as 3 members due to weapon system improvements and other upgrades. So we can have the normal G6 as the Rhino, or the G6-52 with less crew and more upgrades. So we can have a contract tank that can come as the G6 Rhino and can be upgraded, and his name will be changed automatically, like we saw have some tanks from the contract, like with the Burlak. Now you get him for free if you finish the contracts, but also if you want him to be improved, you have to unlock and continue doing some contracts. Developed to traverse harsh terrain at relatively high speed, the G6 uses a 6x6 configuration rather than the track design of many other self-propelled howitzers. This is a key factor in its mobility and resistance to landmine damage. The front of the vehicle offers bolstered protection from 23mm armor-piercing rounds, and the bottom of the hull is double layered to offer added protection from ground-based explosives. The crew is also protected from airborne, nuclear, biological, and chemical threats. The G6 Rhino is powered by a 525 horsepower Magirus Deutz FL4 diesel engine, which is hooked to a 6-speed transmission that routes the power to all 6 wheels and yields speed of over 55 miles per hour. I don't know how much it's in miles, but I think it touches at least 100 kilometers an hour if I'm not mistaken, or more or less. Depending on the variant, the G6 uses either a 155mm AL-45 or 155mm AL-52 main gun with a hydropneumatic recoil system and rammer. This gives the Rhino a firing rate of 3 rounds per minute. So it reloads quite slow, 60 seconds, but it has 3 rounds, very powerful rounds. The G6 can fire heat, frag, smoke, illumination, and incendiary rounds. So if we put this, we have high explosive, or a different type of high explosive we can get with this SPG. Smoke we have in armored warfare. Illumination, well, you can have it on that TDQN. It can be useful if we have this type of artillery, like to be the only artillery to have this in the game. And incendiary rounds, which can be white phosphorus WP. And is capable of carrying a maximum of 44 rounds. A 7.62mm coaxial Browning machine or a 12.7mm machine gun serves as its secondary gun. So it's impressive also that we have an artillery with a, a machine gun that can help to kill some infantry squad, 80 squad. The G6 boasts 2 banks of 4 81mm launcher for smoke grenades, which are located on either side of the front of the turret. The turret also has several firing ports on the left, right, and rear of the vehicle for use if the crew finds themselves in a close quarter combat. The vehicle uses an indirect fire control system which relies on forward observes for targeting data. The observes pass it through the Artillery Target Engagement System (ATES) to fire control posts before transmitting it to the individual G6 Launcher Management System LMS via frequency hopping very high frequency VHF radio. So this tank should have a very big, let's say, well, transmission, but how to put it out, like a visual range probably, or a signal range much better than some other tanks, between tier, I don't know, man, 5 to 8, 9. Projectiles, charges, primers, and fuses are carried in the racks at the rear of the G6's chassis on each side. An access hatch for crew entrance exit of the turret is on the rear. On the left cupola, a 7.62 or 12.7mm machine gun, typically the latter, can also be equipped. 8 launchers for high explosive and smoke grenades are mounted on the turret per side. A total of 154 G6 units will be built in total before the end of the production in 1999. A number of units manufactured for export and several variants were created along the way. These includes the G6-52, which features a 23-liter blaster chamber volume, as well as a G6-52 extended range. Also, the British developed the G6 Marksman, that has also been produced in small quantities. It combines the G6 vehicle design with a marksman anti-aircraft gun rather than a 155mm gun normally outfitted to the vehicle. Despite being decades old now, the G6 Rhino design still remains effective. The majority of the G6 combat recorded is isolated to the South African border war, but it has seen use as recently as August of 2015 when the United Arab Emirates Defense Forces developed a battery to Aden during the ongoing Yemeni civil war. The tank itself, man, it looks impressive, man. I like the details, I like the way it looks. It's very unique. However, very similar to some TDs and AFVs in the game. Very low profile, interesting type of driving and so on. Powerful gun, autoloader, it has around 8 type of shells or 7 types of shells if I'm not mistaken, and it looks quite impressive, and it's also very useful even nowadays. It will be freaking insane and freaking awesome to see this tank being in the game. As me being a player of SPGs and loving to do some damage, at long ranges. Tell me what you think, guys, about this tank in the comment section. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe, leave a comment, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye bye.